Hello, boys and girls. This week is the final week of your Myths and Legends writing topic, based, of course, on Aladdin. Now, there have been many other myths and legends that we have introduced you to over the last 6, 7 weeks or so, and we are hoping this week that you are going to write some absolutely brilliant myths and legends of your own. Now, these things don't happen by chance, and what we wanted to do just before you start planning, writing, and editing is just give you some final tips so that you can do your very, very best in your writing. Now, on the screen right now, what you can see is a list of success criteria. Let me talk you through those, plus introduce you to a pyramid, introduce you to what good work looks like, and a final checklist so that you know and you are absolutely clear what it is you need to do when you write your stories. Okay? So, your task to use your plan, your imagination, and lots of creativity to write your story. Success criteria. You need to know where you are on the pyramid. You'll see the pyramid in a second. You also need to know what you need to do to get to your next step. Again, that will make sense in a moment. It's very important that you can ask any questions if you're still unsure of what good work looks like or if there's anything you don't quite understand. And finally, you need to know what good work looks like so you can produce your very best work as well. This is the pyramid. Now, your teacher will tell you what level you are currently working at and then which level you need to work towards. Now, as you can see, there are 7 different levels there, okay? Again, don't worry about anybody else. Worry purely about you. Don't worry about you, but know what level that you are working on. Now, the great thing about this sort of writing assessment is anyone can achieve any level, but the difficulty and the challenge that some of you guys make is that you can't move up to the very, very top unless you absolutely are secure on the levels at the bottom. Let me explain. A level 1 is being able to show us that you can use full stops and capital letters consistently and in every sentence and every paragraph that you write. If that's the level you're on right now, then that is going to be your challenge. Level 2 is grammar. So typically what this means is being able to make sure that your work is written with the correct verbs in the correct tense, which typically is in the past tense. Making sure that your verbs, of course, are written correctly and also that your work makes sense. Huge, huge, important thing. Your work needs to make sense. Level 3 is writing stamina. Now, typically what we're looking for in year 5, believe it or not, is for you to write around about 1 line per minute. Yeah, 1 line per minute. So in a 30-minute writing session, 30 lines is what we would kind of expect from you in year 5. And I promise you that is not exceptional. That is what we would expect from an average child in year 5. If that is your target, then you need to see if you can write a little bit more during the times that you're given. Now, when you're pretty confident at writing stamina, try and see if you can write sentences in different ways. Sometimes children use the same sentence starters like then or so or all of a sudden. Try and see if you can start sentences in different ways to make your writing that little bit more interesting. A level 5 target is a very typical year 5 one, which is paragraphing. So this is making sure that your work doesn't all look like one big, huge, massive chunk. Paragraphing is when you organise and you set up your work into different sections. Maybe the section starts in a different time, maybe it's the next day, maybe a different person is saying something, or the characters are at a different location. This is called paragraphing. Very, very typical year 5 thing to do. Level 6 is speech punctuation. So the more confident writers in Year 5 will remember that for presenting speech correctly, what you would need to do is to start a new line, to indent, and then to use your speech marks. Often that's followed with a good quality synonym for said, a good quality adverb, and also an adverbial clause. If you can add those extra 3 things in, your speech punctuation will be at the very, very top of Year 5. The last level, level 7, is being creative and writing interesting stories that flow beautifully from the beginning through to the middle unto the very, very end. Now remember, you can write beautiful, creating, interesting stories that flow, but, and this is really important you know this, if your full stops and your capital letters are non-existent, then I can't move you, I'm afraid, up from that level 1. So it is absolutely crucial you guys focus on making sure that you get your level 1 sorted before anything else. Level 1's full stops and capital letters. Level 2 grammar, writing stamina. Level 4 starts sentences in different ways. Level 5 paragraphing. Level 6 speech punctuation. Level 7 creating interesting stories that flow from start, middle, through to the very end. Now that may seem like it's really, really challenging, but kids, I promise you, it's really not. Writing is wonderful, and I know it's not exactly a story, but this diagram over here to the left-hand side is kind of what most writing looks like. You can see with the block, the line at the very, very top, that would typically be your title. And you would do that in pretty much any piece of writing that you would do. The next 3.5 lines are what you would call a paragraph, a section of writing that is written together. Where the 2 lines indent here, well, that's what speech punctuation typically needs to look like. Indented on the next line and with one section following the other. Then you start a new paragraph with the next 6 lines shown underneath there. And finally, the last 2 lines are more speech punctuation. Now, of course, I know this is just lines on a computer page, but that's kind of what your writing should physically and actually look like. Okay? Your writing should look like that, with bits coming in, with bits finishing mid-line. If your writing looks like that, then you're on to a winner. So you've got 3 lessons this week: a plan, a write, and an edit. The plan is typically going to take place in school with your teacher. We're going to show you the planning tool that we want you to use, and you can use this to record your ideas. Also, be sure that you challenge yourself to use some new words. There are, I think, around about 12 words that we've taught you during this Myths and Legends topic. Use some of them. Challenge yourself to use some of them. If you don't know what they mean and you really want to use them, ask your teacher. Definitely use ideas from stories that you've learned, stories that you've heard about, because this is absolutely fine and what we would expect from the good, confident writers in Year 5 to do. Remember also the genre of myths and legends, what actually typically makes up a myth and a legend. If there are any questions, now's the time to do it. Because when you move into your writing lesson, that's it from us as a teacher's point of view. You're kind of on your own, and what we want to see is what you guys can do without us helping you. This is important because we need to know what you guys can do without our help, so we know what you need to work on next. So when you write, again, use your capital letters and full stops. I cannot emphasize how important this is. Know what you personally need to do to get better. So make sure your teacher tells you on this pyramid which level you're working at. For example, level 3, you're working at level 3, so you can do full stops, capital letters, your grammar is good, and your writing stamina is good. But this is the target you need to work on, starting sentences in different ways. Make sure you know that. It's my responsibility as your teacher to tell you what level you're working at. It's your responsibility as a learner to know how to do it. In addition, try and see if you can write 1 minute per line. Think lots, definitely during your writing time, but get on with it. You've only got 45 minutes, so 1 line per minute. You can't afford to wait and faff around for 30 minutes with regard to what it is you want to write. Use your plan as a guide to help navigate through your story. Finally, do make sure you finish your story, because it's really important that you hand in something that is complete and not only partially done. Now, the third lesson this week is going to be editing. So again, at this point, your teacher is not going to look at this for you. We want to see what you guys can do without our help at all. Make sure you read all of your story through. Check it for punctuation, capital letters and full stops, obviously. Check your targets to make sure, again, you know what you should be doing and what your target was. Make sure you finished your story. And ask yourself this question, and this is really, really important. This shows that you are a thoughtful and mature writer. What is stopping this from being your best work ever? If there is something that's stopping this bit of writing being the best you've ever done, find out what it is and do something about it off your own back. Sort the problem out, and it will be your best work ever. You will know that, boys and girls, not us. So the last thing, basically, I want just to draw attention to you is this here. Anyone can achieve anything. So even if you've got a level 1 target down here, your writing could be a level 7. As long as you pass through every single one of these criteria here. Remember, again, just because you can use paragraphing doesn't mean to say I'm going to assess you as a level 5 kid. If your grammar is poor and you can't use your full stops and capital letters. This is how it works, kids. These are the basics. You have to get these basic levels right first of all before I am confident you can move on to the next levels. But basically, anyone can achieve anything. You must start by demonstrating, evidencing you can achieve level 1 and work your way up. A kid of your age needs to be able to write without a break for at least 45 minutes. And that's around about 1 line per minute as a minimum. Now that sounds quite challenging, and for some of you, yeah, it will be. But you'll get better, and the more you do this and the more you get used to this and the more you challenge and the more you push yourselves and the more we support you, the better learners, guys, you will become. Very best of luck with your writing assessments this week. Do your best, nothing less, and remember, anyone can achieve anything. If I were you, watch this video again in a couple of days before you do your writing story, and the process after you've edited your writing, just before you click that button on Seesaw to turn this story in to your teacher, because then that's it. Then that's the work you're submitting to us, and then we can see just how much you've learned this term. Best of luck, guys. I'll see you in school.